What is going on YouTube? Tim here coming at you from Team Vortex TCG, and before I get into this deck profile that I'm going to be bringing you guys of Noble Knights, I want to just explain why this channel is called Team Vortex TCG. Now at the moment I am currently making my own trading card game, and don't worry, I have not got this orange colour from the colour of obviously the YuGiOh cards with effect monsters. This is actually what is known as a pure creature in my card game, but my card game will be for other videos which I'll be posting separately on the same channel but separately to my YuGiOh videos, and there will also be other trading card games that will be uploaded to this channel as well, but the main focus around this channel will be YuGiOh and my trading card game as well. But nevertheless, without further ado, I'm going to bring you guys my version of the Noble Knights for the April 2016 ban list. So without further ado, let's get into this deck profile for you guys. So what I'm going to do in all of my deck profiles is I'm going to go through all of the monsters, all the spells, all the traps, and then the extra deck. You probably won't see many of my side decks just because my side decks are already tailored to the meta that I see at my locals rather than the overall meta when I go to the big events. When I go to big events, what I will do though is I will show you the side deck that I ran at that event along with the deck that I did take. But nevertheless guys, this is my version of Noble Knights. So to start off with, I run 3 copies of Merlin. In my opinion, Noble Knights should not be run without at least 3 copies, maybe 2, but 3 I feel is the best optimal amount even for this deck, because he allows you to go into so many different plays just by his effects alone. For example, on turn 1, if you see him in your hand, you can play him and then you can tribute him to summon a Noble Knight from your deck. So in other words, you're getting a +2 from your first turn, which is quite good in my personal opinion. Plus obviously you can send him from the graveyard to your I think it's banish him. I think you can banish him. Let me just double check that. Yeah, you can banish him from the graveyard to be able to synchro summon, or you can exceed summon doing the same thing. So it's entirely up to you what obviously you use that particular effect for. Normally I end up using that effect to be able to exceed summon rather than synchro summon, and I'll let you guys know why a little bit further down the line. But Merlin, in my opinion, has to be run at 3. That way you're more than likely going to see it in your first hand, obviously when you do draw into your cards. So the only other card that I play 3 copies of in regards to monsters, and that is Noble Knight Madrot. Once again, the best Noble Knight in this deck by far in my opinion. Obviously when he's equipped he becomes a dark monster, which kind of helps in a certain extent. And also once per turn, if you control no other monsters, you can special summon a Noble Knight monster from your deck in defense position except Madrot, and if you do, destroy one face-up equip spell. But what I like about Noble Knights is when you destroy your Noble Arms, they just equip to another creature, another monster even anyway, unless it's a couple of Noble Arms that state they don't. So obviously 3 copies of Madrot is probably the best way to go with Noble Knights at this moment in time, just because he's probably one of the best, if not the best Noble Knight to run in this deck. I then run 2 copies of Bedwyr as the next Noble Knight. He's pretty much a 1600 body, and when he is either normal summoned or special summoned to your side of the field, you can send 1 equip Noble Arms card from your deck to your graveyard. So he just allows you to go into plays with regards to your Noble Arms cards, hence why I run him at 2. I don't feel you need to run him at 3 because I think 3 is a little bit too cloggy, so I feel 2 is the best way to go with him. I then run 2 copies of Boars. This card is pretty much a 1700 body, and his effect reads, this card becomes a dark and its level is increased by 1. During a main phase you can reveal 3 Noble Arms cards from your deck and have your opponent randomly add 1 of them to your hand, send the rest to your graveyard. You can only use the card effect even of Noble Knight Boars once per turn, and that is obviously when he is equipped with a Noble Arms card. So that is fairly good, because obviously it allows you to basically replenish your hand of Noble Knight monsters, plus obviously your opponent gets to randomly select 1. So pretty much what I would normally do is I'd play Boars, and then I'd probably pick like a Bedwyr, and then 2 of my Madrot or something like that, so I'm guaranteed a decent Noble Knight. Sometimes if I have already seen most of those particular Noble Knights, I'll go with, I wouldn't say the weaker ones, but ones that could probably help me out a little later on in the game. I then run 2 copies of Gawain. He's basically a 1900 body, and if I control a light monster, I can special summon it from my hand in face up defense position. So in other words, I can play a level 4 Noble Knight, special this in defense position, and exceed pretty much straight away. So that is a very nice card to be able to go into a lot of exceed plays. I then run the 2 copies of Drystan, one of the better Noble Knights in the deck. I feel there isn't enough room, in my opinion, to play 3 of him, but I do play 2 copies at this moment in time. He's an 1800 body, and his effect reads: while you control let's try that again. While you control another Noble Knight monster, your opponent cannot target your monsters with less than 1800 attack except this card, 4 attacks or with card effects. If a Noble Arms equipped spell card is equipped to this card, target one face-up card on the field, destroy that target. You can only use the effect of Noble Knight Drystan once per turn. So that's a pretty cool effect if you ask me. It's one of the better effects in the deck as well, because obviously it protects pretty much everything in that deck. So Drystan is one of those cards that I'm thinking about bumping to 3, but at the moment in this particular build 2 is more than enough, and sometimes 3 can be a little bit cloggy, so I'm running 2 copies at the moment. And then the one-offs for Noble Knights, I play Ignoble Knight of Black Laundress. I don't know how to pronounce that last word, but I play 1 copy of him. I play the Solidary copy of Noble Knight Brothers, and I also run the 1 copy of Grouchevard. The only reason I run 1 copy of each of these is I think anything more than 2 of Brothers would be too cloggy. I think 1 is a perfect amount for this particular build. I might end up bumping that up to 2, but I don't really know if I would cut anything, and if I even have anything to cut to be able to play the 2nd copy. So I play 1 of each of those just to round off the Noble Knights in this particular deck. And then I play a few other support cards, I guess you could say, in a monster lineup. So I play 2 Queen of Noble Arms. This pretty much starts off the Noble Arms part of this particular deck, because obviously she can also double up as a equip spell, and in fact you want to use the equip spell more than obviously you summon her. So I run 2 copies of her. I then run 1 copy of Lady of the Lake. I used to run 0 copies of this card, but I realised how good it was, and also that it's a tuner, so it allows me to go into the synchro for the Noble Knights. So I do run 1 copy of Lady of the Lake. I then run 3 hand traps in the form of 1 Honest, because pretty much every single card in this deck is a light monster apart from your Ignoble Knight, or apart from some of the Noble Knights when they're equipped. But normally, normally you'd have them equipped, but if they're not equipped with anything, then you can drop Honest to save them and keep them on the board for a little bit longer. And then I also run the 2 copies of Effect Veiler. These would be maxis if I had access to maxis, but when I was not playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I've literally just come back into the game, so when I wasn't playing it I actually sold, I think I had like 4 copies of Maxi, so I sold all of my copies of Maxi back then. Kind of wish I kept hold of them, but at that moment in time I didn't realise I was going to be coming back into Yu-Gi-Oh! So I play the 2 Effect Veilers instead of the 2 Maxis for this particular build of Noble Knights. So that is it for the monsters, guys. I'm going to now move on to the spells for you. The spells pretty much consist of Noble Arms cards with a few other bits and bobs. Well, not a few other bits and bobs, but a few other cards that are obviously helpful to the deck. So I play 2 Last Chapter of Noble Knights. I used to play 3 of these, but I was recommended to cut 1, and ever since I cut 1, this deck's been playing a lot better in my opinion. So I only play the 2 copies of Last Chapter of the Noble Knights. If you guys don't know what it does, it basically says if your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, you can target 1 Noble Arms equip spell and 1 appropriate Noble Knight monster in your graveyard, special summon that monster, and if you do equip that equip spell to the appropriate monster, you can only activate 1 Last Chapter of the Noble Knights per turn. So in other words, it allows you to obviously replenish your board presence. So that is 2 copies of Last Chapter of the Noble Knights. And then going into the Noble Arms cards, I play 2 copies of Excalibur. I play 2 copies of Caliburn, I play 2 copies of Destiny, 1 Gatlin, and then 1 Arthur. In other words, you're playing a total of 10 Noble Arms. Obviously, if you guys counted, that was only 8 actual Noble Arms spell cards, but the 2 Queen of Noble Arms actually doubles up as your 9th and 10th Noble Arms in this deck. So those are the ones that I run. I used to play a completely different lineup of Noble Arms cards in this particular deck. I used to play 1 copy of this. I used to play 2 of these. I used to never play Destiny. I used to play 3 Caliburn, and then I think I used to play 2 Excalibur. So it's changed quite a bit, and I honestly think that this particular lineup of your Noble Arms cards helps out a hell of a lot in every situation. And basically, your Noble Knights are nothing without their swords, hence why I play technically 10 of them in the deck, because you want to see at least one of those in your opening hand to be able to make your plays with. I then run some back row removal in the form of 2 copies of MST and a solitary copy of Twin Twister. If I had another copy of Twin Twister, I'd actually run 2 Twin Twister and a 1 MST, but right now I do it the other way around because I only have the 1 copy of Twin Twister at this moment in time. So that is the back row removal that I run. I then run 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Reinforcement of the Army, and a solitary copy of Soul Charge to round off the spells in this particular deck. So that is pretty much the main bulk of the main deck. I do run 3 traps. You don't really want to rely too heavily on back row in this deck, hence why I only run 3 traps. So I run the 1 copy of Torrential Tribute, the 1 copy of Solemn Warning, and also the 1 copy of Solemn Strike. Now, with regards to Solemn Strike, if I was able to, I would take out the Torrential Tribute and I would play 2 Strike and 1 Warning, but I only have the 1 copy of Strike, and I'm not going to pay, I think it's like £65–70 for a copy of this card, so I'd rather keep it at these 3 for this moment in time. So that is it for the main deck, guys. So I'm now going to show you my extra deck. I run 3 Artagus King of Noble Knights, and also sorry, I'm just looking at this and I feel like I have laid down more than what I should have. I actually play 3 copies of this because I feel it's one of the best King of Noble. Well, it's the best, one of the best exceeds you can go into in this deck. And then I run the 3 copies of Sacred Noble Knight of King Artagus as well. I used to only run I think it was 2 and 1. But now I realise that 3 and 3 is a lot better. Plus, with regards to this card, you can go into it a lot easier with regards to your Madrorts when they're equipped. You can go into it with Madrort and your Ignoble Knight. I think, was it Boars that gains a level as well? So there's a lot of plays you can make, and this card becomes a lot more viable when you use your Noble Arms with your Noble Knights. So that is why I run 3 and 3. As I said, I used to run 2 and 1, but I've changed it up to 3 and 3 now, and in my personal opinion it works a lot better with this particular count than it did before. And then the rest of the cards are pretty much just cards that I felt would work well with the deck and would work well in conjunction with the cards I've already got. So I run the 1 copy of Excalibur, the 1 copy of Castal, the 1 copy of Number 101, the 1 copy of Blade Armor Ninja, the 1 copy of Gagaga Cowboy, 1 copy of Abyss Dweller, 1 Dark Rebellion Exceed Dragon, and a Ghost Trick Alucard to round off the Exceeds. As you can tell, pretty much all of the Exceed monsters are rank 4s, apart from the 3 rank 5s that I got. And I play a lot of rank 4s because if I'm not equipping stuff to my Noble Knights, or they're not equipped because the back row has been removed by my opponent, then I can go into a lot more rank 4 Exceeds. And then I run the 1 copy of the Noble Knight Synchro card, just because I feel like 1 is enough, plus I only run the 1 tuner in the deck anyway, so I feel that 1 copy of this card is more than enough to be able to basically round off the deck and round off the extra deck. As I said, guys, I'm not going to show you a side deck because number 1, I actually haven't got one built yet, and number 2, my side deck actually will be tailored towards my locals more than anything to start with, and obviously further down the line I will be tailoring it to any of the big events that I go to. But nevertheless guys, that is my version of Noble Knights profiled for you guys as my first video on this channel, so I hope you did enjoy. If you did, please leave a like rating and subscribe to the channel for more trading card game content. And if you guys are into gaming videos or you enjoy gaming as a whole, be sure to go and check out my gaming channel. I'll leave a link to it in the description down below for you guys. I post daily videos over there where I play basically a wide variety of video games. So if you guys are looking for a new gaming channel to watch, or you like the sound of it, just be sure to go and check that out. That would mean a lot to me. But anyway guys, thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.